Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
You guys, my gatekeeper's in here being naughty already. It's not AI, it's AL, and that stands for Al, and that rhymes with... Give me a minute, I'll come up with something. How y'all doing tonight? Welcome in, gatekeepers. This is going to be so much fun, but I can't have fun all by myself tonight because this is a Sys-Cho night. So we are Donnie Cho faux show up in the house tonight. Say hello to Donnie. Hi, Donnie.
Hey, hi.
How y'all doing?
You almost caught me picking my nose.
Uh-oh. You want me to take you back off and bring you back in?
No, I'm just kidding.
Are you good to roll? Okay.
I'm good.
Tonight, we have, you talked to him in chat, and you know that our friend Sir Brian Bowden has spoke to many times about him, and if you've never caught one of their shows, you're missing something. I promise you, there's a lot of experience in that team, and Al carries an awful lot of that experience. He is involved in everything. I'm going to just give you a couple of pictures because there's so much. This is some of the things that Al has started, involved in, began. We're going to let him tell you about the North American Dogman Project, New York State chapter. We've got the New York State UFO Project. We have the Bronxville Paranormal Society. We also have the New York State Sasquatch organization. So many things that he is involved in, and he's here tonight. Without further ado, Mr. Al Santariga. Hello, darling. Hello, Al.
How you doing, folks? How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, gosh. Thank you so much. I just got about an hour of Al. He was on our good friends KSPS with Jim and Dave out there in Pennsylvania. Wonderful Doorway to the Dead. Brought up a lot of great stories. But I'll tell you what. That's the thing, Al. I could listen to an hour and a half of you telling stories and then have you on here and not get the same one. Because there's been so many.
Yeah, we kind of didn't, because it was like last minute kind of thing.
Right.
There wasn't anything we really worked out.
Right.
Any one particular thing he wanted me to discuss. We just bounced all over the place.
Right.
But I know you want me to discuss the Son of Sam stuff tonight.
Yeah.
But I also know that Donnie's got a couple of questions for me. So before I get into that too deeply, if Donnie wants to, ask me some questions,
absolutely. Before we do that, would you just give us a little idea, because I didn't do it justice, all the things you're involved in, and I thought you could roll it off into, importance of what you think we should know. There's just so many things, and I do realize that you had to branch it off to cover everything, because there's a little bit of inside stuff going on, like if you're a UFO guy or if you're this guy. We know that gets crazy, because it's all connected, Al.
Yeah, it's people who don't think it's all connected. They're doing themselves a disjustice for sure. You know what I mean? It's all connected. And like I said, I've experienced everything under the gamut of paranormal, whether it's UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, whatever you want, whatever it is, I've experienced it. My mom would get premonitions when she was, when if anybody ever died in the family, and it didn't matter where she was, if she was in Italy or if she was down in Florida or where she was, they would go to my mother first, and my mother always knew. My father made my mother sleep in a separate room because she would talk all night. People would come to her all night long, and she would talk all night long. I had my first UFO sighting at 10, my first Bigfoot sighting at 12, all kinds of ghost stuff my whole life. Always thought my paranormal world was normal until I actually started talking to my friends when they got older, and they were like, no, dude, that's not normal,
Right.
And then they started experiencing stuff because they were with me, and so that's just, who I am.
It's incredible, and I think a lot of people are really starting in our time out because we started around the same time, you know, little bit earlier than me, but not by much, believe me. But I was listening to you talk about books. And I don't think that people that aren't in our age group understand how precious books were to us at that time because we had no other outlet. So when you spoke of grabbing, you know, in fifth grade or whatever, grabbing those books to do those book reports, you were doing them on the Loch Ness Monster and you were doing them on this. I was doing them on the Hope Diamond and trying to do them on curses, you know, and you know, different things like this. We try to slide them in. But that was the thing. They were like friends. You know, and it was people telling stories about stuff we were going through, like Hans Holzler and his.
Absolutely.
I would love for you. I had that one opening question about you have someone in your family, that connection to that whole thing, and that was my whole world from like 10 to 14, because Hans was the only one. Sybil Leek and you know all the you know the people, Ethel Myers, they were the ones who were helping the ghost. Hans kind of had this whole thing about, well, if I help the ghost, then I help the homeowner, I help the business owner, I help the whole problem goes away. We help the ghost is just a person in trouble. And I loved that whole thing. And I know you've met Alexandria as well as I, and that whole thing is just, I'd love for you to tell us your experience with that.
Yeah, my brother is a parapsychologist. And he started back in the day. He was working with Han Holzer's right-hand man, and they used Ethel Myers a lot.
Yes.
They used her a lot. So when I put my team together, he was very adamant that I get a psychic on the team. You know, he says, you got to have a psychic, you have the psychic. And I was like, you know, and I got to be honest with you, coming from New York, I didn't believe in psychics. I thought they were all full of shit. You know what I mean? It took a lot for me. But it was great because my psychic, I ended up knowing 3 years before she ever told me she was a psychic, you know? And then when we tested her on the very first investigation, we went out and we were doing, it was called the Dutch cabin up in upstate New York. It was a burnt out cabin. It was built by the Dutch, and I was walking around, and I had. She's from Arkansas. She does everything over the phone. She reads everything through me. She says I'm a conduit. I don't know. I don't claim to be a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. I just get gut feelings. Right. I have had an awakening recently, which kind of blew me away. But we were testing her, and she was telling me, okay, this happened here, this happened there. And we were on a pretty big piece of property. And so I said, okay, I'm going to walk over here about 100 yards. Let me know what you feel over here. And I just walked around in a circle on the leaves, crushing the leaves underneath my feet so she could hear them crushing, thinking I'm walking away. Right. And then I said, okay, what do you feel over here, you know? And she looked at, and she said to me, she says, "Ali, you testing me?" Because you didn't go anywhere. She goes, "I still feel the same energy I felt 10 minutes ago." So I go, "Yeah, I am testing you. I'm sorry, you know, but I just, you know." So then at one point, we moved from the Dutch cabin into a town where my friend had a house he was selling, and he wanted to make sure the house was okay because the people who were buying it had small children. And it was built by his family. He didn't want to leave any of his family behind and all of this stuff. And, oh, man, I got a crazy photograph in this house. We were saging, called the psychic, and the psychic said, okay, his aunt is still here. In this room is her aunt. And they had a phone on the floor. This is a great story. They had a phone on the floor, but it wasn't plugged into a jack. And I was in the room with one of my investigators, Anthony, and Anthony kicks over the phone, trips over it, you know, 'cause it's in the dark, right? He trips over it, and the phone's got a dial tone. So I go, Ant, pick it up, see who's on the phone. Because I'm not picking that phone up. So I picked it up and said hello. And but there was no one there. But there was no reason for the phone to have a dial tone.
To have a dial tone.
Yeah, it wasn't plugged into the wall.
Those were the craziest stories. You don't seem to hear those anymore because there's just not so many landlines around.
Everybody
but there's nothing
uses
creepier.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's a difference in, the cell phone versus the landline, the connection, going back to that old Twilight Zone where the line is laying, after a storm on the grave and the old lady gets the phone call. Everybody knows that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's a difference in that because that's such a creepy concept. And maybe when you and Donnie get into the frequencies and the all that, the energies and stuff, we can explain that a little bit more. But go ahead. I didn't mean to
So I like to use old school techniques with new school techniques. I'm big on the high tech stuff. I'm big on the low tech stuff. I have just as much success with dowsing rods and pendulums and bells and whistles and all that as I do with all the high end stuff. And the psychic said that there was something dark in the attic, and she said that there was a room in the house she called the killing room, and said there's a lot of death in this room, and whatever this thing is in the attic, it came in because of the death that was in this room. So I was like, well, we're in a garage. We were just in a garage. She goes, no, this, whatever you are, she says, is not part of the original structure. It was built later. This is a killing room. So the owner of the house was with us. So I called him over and I said, Sam, when was this, garage built? And he said, it was built like 25 years after the house was built. I said, so why does the psychic believe that this is the killing room? He said, because my fathers and my uncles had all the deer and heads hanging on the walls. This is where they gutted them. This is where they did all that stuff. So all those killing of all those animals brought something dark into the house. So the psychic said there's something dark in the attic. So the attic had two openings, one in the garage and one in the living room. So I was using a 35 millimeter SLN's camera, right? Wasn't using anything digital at this investigation. And I had my guy Anthony sage from the garage and blow the sage with a fan through the attic so it would come out into the living room, okay? And I was sitting underneath that hole taking pictures with the 35 millimeter camera, and I got something that looks like a red bat fly out of the attic. It's the creepiest thing ever. It looks almost like a bat, but it's red. Okay. So everybody, now we didn't know this because it's on film, so we didn't get to see it until after the film was developed. So anyway, as the night is going on, the psychic is saying, well, I see two couples here, and they're both claiming to be Sam's parents. And we're both like, what the hell are you talking about, And she's like, now, this couple here is the couple that raised him. And this couple here are his paternal parents. So I turned to Sam and I says, what the hell is she talking about? And Sam says, yeah, I was adopted when I was 1. But nobody knew that, nobody knew that he was adopted. And he doesn't even consider himself adopted because his parents that raised him since he was 1 year old. But she knew that. And they were both sets of parents were there. So long story. So after she did that, we basically said, okay, there's no sense in testing her anymore because, that was insane,
That was it. I mean, she had passed that test. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You have someone here saying hi from Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom.
Oh, it's Carlito. It's my boy.
Hey, Carlito, welcome in, and welcome to all the gatekeepers, Brown Dwarf, Oracles, and Beyonds here. We've got Aunt Edna, Chasing the Truth. Hey, Sean, how you doing tonight, sweetie? Mairead all the way from Nottingham, in Robin Hood is stomping grounds there. And Fast Hemi, hello. Cassie, I know I said hello to you, but I love you so much, darling. She always does so many nice things for this show. Amazing. And that's just how this whole thing goes. So many different levels, right, Donnie? There's just so many levels to the paranormal.
I was just wondering, have Sys-Cho and Al, have either of you been to a slaughterhouse before?
I can't go near
or like a
them.
meatpacking place?
No, I've never been to one. No.
Because that was the first time I heard of a place inviting negative energy because it was a place of, butchering animals and butchering meat. So I'm just wondering if if you go to like a meat packing place, if there will be like a lot of negative energy.
I have heard there is, Al. I don't know what you found along your lines. I know I've walked past them, and I get the same feeling as any place that was put together as like a tuberculosis hospital or an insane asylum or anything. I mean, because we know going back, you could be put in an insane asylum for migraines.
Anything, yeah.
Anything. So there's so much. Happening there. We had a chicken plant in Alabama. It was really huge. So many people worked there. It was one of those places that kept the whole town going, And I would get the same feeling from that. And I don't know if it's the death of the animals alone or if it could be the people. That amount of energy being there. You can't be happy. You get jaded, very much like being a mortician or a crime scene cleanup or something along those lines, where you just shut down part of yourself. And then I know there's some people that work in those places because they get to do the stuff that they do. So what do you think, Al?
Yeah, no, you know what? I've been to enough insane asylums to know that the energy is bad there. But honest to God, I've never, ever went past or worked or went into a meat packing facility or
I couldn't do it.
anything like that. So I couldn't even talk about something like that. I don't have any knowledge on that, so.
I think it's the turmoil too. I just heard of a term a couple weeks ago that I'd never heard before, the Judas sheep. Have you ever heard this?
No.
The Judas sheep. And that's a sheep that they actually train to lead the other sheep's lambs to slaughter. And that's, he gets to live, and he just trains the other sheep and leads them that way. So, I mean, there's so much, betrayal and fear and not knowing what's going on. I can imagine any place, whether it's animals or human beings that have been in that kind of confusion and that kind of horror has got to leave an imprint.
Yeah, I would say so. Anytime you take a life, you take, you may be able to kill people, but you can't kill energy. Energy lives on, so.
Mm-hmm. And it's going out badly. It's not a nice thing at all. I mean, it's just cold and sterile and I can imagine. So, good question, Donnie. I mean.
Yeah, that. You know what? I got to be honest with you. That thought has never even crossed my mind. The meat packing facility, because I've never been in one or even around one,
Mm-hmm.
So.
I've heard some stories of people that have worked there and the type of people that have worked there. Like I said, like a serial killer mindset, psychopathic kind of mindset, being able to, take that. There are people who take jobs like that for that reason,
Absolutely.
So I would imagine that it's a great big amount of energy. But then again, you can talk about the same thing as a theater or a church or something along those lines, where the people, at least going into the building, have the intent of worshiping and singing and praising and raising a vibration.
It's all about intent, absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. And in a theater, playing, Saw or The Purge or something awful like that, or playing something like, a wonderful feel-good movie. Gosh,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of one, but I can't get one off the top of my head because they don't sell. If it bleeds, it leads, and if it, and it sells too. So I can imagine that kind of combined energy would also be the same type of thing. Just like any land or anything where we've had battles or massacres and things you can feel them, can't you, Al? You can walk into it and feel the heaviness.
Oh, you feel it. You feel it immediately, yeah. And the longer you do this kind of investigation, the more sensitive you become. I noticed I've become a little more sensitive over the years from just getting a gut feeling when I walked into a location to being touched, to getting a metallic taste in my mouth, pressure on my temples, my fingertips start tingling. All of this stuff has happened over the course of years and years and years. And I just call it getting more sensitive to energies. And, different kind of energies affect you differently. You know what I mean? So the energy that gives me that gut feeling energy is not the same one that gives me the tingling in my fingers, so.
It is. It's different.
Yeah.
And, I know our thing tonight, I entitled it What's Out There, and the whole idea of it is just this, Al. I really think things are amping up. I don't know how you feel about it. Myself, I feel like it is. I don't know if it's because we're noticing it more. There's been a shift, a change, a consciousness, an awareness, something along those lines. But what I usually try to do on this show, and next time I have you on, I'm going to have you send me pictures if you want to share pictures and videos
sure,
and things
absolutely.
like that. We kind of did this, on the thing. You have to forgive me. I'm a floral designer, and it's Valentine's is coming.
Yeah.
So everything is just, last minute, and I apologize for that. But I did pull one. Now, what I usually tell people on the show, and we share a lot with the gatekeepers here, we try to explore different videos and stuff online because one, I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Stockton. We usually have him
sure.
on Monday
Yeah,
nights. Yeah. And we're of the mind of, I want to see all of it, and I just want to enjoy the whole thing. It's like not trying to pick it apart, tell whether it's real or not, because I already imagine that probably 95% of it is faked, CGI, something along those lines. I'm watching because I want to see the 5 or the 4 that are real. You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
And people are getting all these little clips of things. I've heard you talking about gnomes and fairies. I've never seen, to my knowledge, a gnome. I believe I've seen what I would consider a fairy or a sprite in the woods and things like that. But I think everybody's got different what they look like and, what they're up to. And I think there's good and bad in everything. But the one I've been seeing a lot that I'm trying to get a handle on is this rake and the crawlers, and we're seeing a lot, I think, now of what people would consider grays or aliens, like hiding behind trees and things like that. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we're just getting more pictures. We're able to get more because we got the phones. We're getting a lot of those found footage ones where you don't know quite what happened. You just found the camera and we want it to be true, but then we want the people to be okay. But anyway, I've got this little video and I thought it was perfect to pull it up. Let's take a look at it.
Sure.
Give us your thoughts if it sparks an idea or like if you're hearing sounds that you hear. I'm doing it for another reason too. You could hear a red wolf scream in the woods. I promise you're going to think a woman's being stabbed to death. There's so many sounds in the woods. Not everything is something odd, but I guarantee you that some of it is. I've heard Bigfoot, talking to each other. Big feets, whatever. Talking back and forth, sounding like whales. Almost like, you would hear in the ocean of whales talking back and forth and things like that. But these things, it seems like they're making this like pig kind of sound. And, I don't know if you're, how you feel about all this. But anyway, let's watch it. This one is put up
Oh man,
by...
is this video going to be scary? I got to prepare myself.
To me, I can't figure out why the guy is sitting there just... You can cover your eyes, Donnie. I'll let you know when it's over.
No, I gotta endure.
If I was going to say, okay, fake, I would say it's because the guy's still sitting there. You see what I mean? But again, we're not watching it to see if it's fake. I'm watching it because it seems to me like one of the best full-bodied pictures of these things I've ever seen. So without further ado, you can find the whole video on Richard Grebenik, and I put that in the video on his YouTube. He loaded this up August 12th, 2017. And what we're going to see is basically he's been seeing something coming up in his backyard. So he sets up as an iPad. Faces it towards the backyard. And then he calls his friend because he's really freaking out because he's seen it a couple of times over a couple of nights. And he thought he saw something moving out there. Puts up this and he's talking to the guy on the phone. And we'll take it from there.
This is the young kid one? This is the young kid?
I almost pulled the young kid one, but he seemed to have 3 or 4 of them. And it was kind of... I wasn't sure whether he was in some place where he's seeing a lot of them or he's just got a thing going and he's putting it up. But you know which one I mean. I'm not sure. Okay. I grabbed this one because it was a little longer and not because I think it's any more real than the other, but because you can see it more. And I wondered what you thought about it. Okay, so let's take a look and we'll see what's up.
Let's rock and roll.
Okay. I'm calling it Creature Feature. And again, this is the guy Richard right here. So if you want to see the videos he has, and again, he just put this up, and then he calls his friend. The video is actually named "Evil Creature Caught on Tape." So if you look for it on YouTube, you'll find it there, and we'll listen to what he says. He's going to start talking here in just a second.
All right, you're not gonna believe this. I got it on video now. I put the iPad in the window, and now this thing's coming up to the steps in my backyard, Mike. Just
Sure it's not somebody should call the police?
yeah, no, it's a demonic creature. It's not human.
Peace, comfort, Lord, that he knows that Lord, you are watching over, Lord. You are his rear guard, and nothing's going to call me. When you lay down at night, no sudden terror will come upon you.
Oh my God, there it is, Mike. It came back. Oh my gosh.
I command you to go in Jesus' name.
This thing is
Be gone.
looking weird. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It knows something's going on, man. This thing is. Oh my gosh. Oh my.
If you've never heard it, the guy's speaking in tongues. Very Pentecostal kind of.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what happened. We got disconnected.
Here's the second time it showed up, and I sped it up ×2. Then it went away and it never came back. Creepy. So creepy. This next one is the small clip of the alien I told you about, and I didn't know if you ever saw this one.
Pour éclairer, putain!
Can you see it behind the tree? I'll get a close-up here in just a second. They're speaking French. I tried to find the original poster. I can't find them, so if you guys know, I'll be happy to give them credit, but it was all French to me. Now here's a close-up. And you can see almost a hand, almost like it was just trying to get warm by the fire, maybe, or drawn to the fire. And then I've got this little close-up here at the end. Barely you could see his whole face. Right about here. Right here. It's so blurry. You could get a good picture of his hand there.
That thing's clearly not used to fire, because it's like,
Right.
wow, look at that,
Right.
that's fire.
And there's the best picture of a face and one part of his hand that I could get. Thoughts, Al?
Well, I think the first one is a load of crap.
Yep.
You know.
You
that's
think it's
just-
somebody in a suit? You
Yeah,
think
it's my gut. I've seen a rake,
Uh-huh.
and they don't walk like that.
Okay. Are they
Okay.
more crawly? Are they
Yeah,
more?
more crawly.
Okay.
More crawly. I mean, I'm sure they can stand up and walk bipedally, but it just didn't feel right to me. I'm going with my gut. My gut says no.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta do.
The second one, it's a little bit tougher because you know what? Most animals are afraid of fire and would go the other way. But like you said, it looked like he put his hand out to feel it, like he was
Like,
curious.
Yeah.
Either he was cold and he wanted to warm up, or he was curious to feel that warmth. You know. I don't know about
It's
that
hard.
one.
It's
that
hard.
one, you know,
And it's all in French, and I can't even tell what they were saying, you know, and I was looking for translations on it. I couldn't. I picked it, like I said, I went through a bunch of them, and I got the same feeling from the first one, but at the same time, I'm thinking, again, there's that baby with the bathwater kind of thing. I don't know, but we're looking at it, and all the ones you seem to see are looking like that, or you just get the head and the one eye and the pig scream and stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, well, they went down, they got a Halloween mask and they're over the top. But what if these things are really out there?
Oh, they're out there. I've seen them.
Yeah, and they really are. People are getting pictures. I'd hate to see, you know, we throw out the good one. I've got pictures myself. You've got pictures. And you show them we were there, and we show them we know what we didn't do to it. We didn't Photoshop it. We didn't set anything up. There's nobody in a costume. It's so impossible at this point. We've gone through being kids peering through these books and living for that one picture of the brown lady coming down the stairs, or whatever Ripley's Believe It or Not pictures we were looking at. And now we've got so much stuff that we don't know. It's in there somewhere. The truth is in there somewhere. So I thought I would share that just to get everybody, in the mood for all this. Donnie, take it away. I know you've got some questions, because I think it would be great if we talked about the frequencies. Oops, I don't know what that is. Go ahead.
I've heard a couple interviews you've given where you've talked about how, one of the important aspects of the universe would be frequency, and then vibration, and then consciousness. I've heard Brian
and
mention
intent as well. Intent is right there with all three of those things. Absolutely.
Can you define, maybe for some people who might be confused, give your definition of frequency and vibration in a way that maybe people in the chat could understand? Or
frequencies are just. Frequency is a frequency that's in the air. There's different frequencies for all kinds of things. There's stuff coming in right now behind me that I can't hear because I'm not tuned into the frequency it's on. You know what I mean? And I think when it comes to the higher consciousness, the higher you raise your frequency, the higher your consciousness gets, the more in tune with the universe you get. And you're able to tap into different aspects of the universe, like Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, or people like that, Einstein, Tesla. These people, they don't claim to be geniuses. They said that this information was given to them from out in the universe.
Carl Jung calls it the collective unconscious.
Right. It comes to them in their dreams, and then they have this epiphany, and they wake up and they write these formulas down or whatever. You know what I mean? I think it's them raising, and then again, most of the time it comes to them in their dreams because they're sleeping, their subconscious, is wide open, and maybe in their dreams, their frequency is, when their body's at rest and there's not so much stuff going on in their mind, they can raise their frequency raises because they're so such high IQ to begin with. Their frequency raises up, and then they can tap into all the information that's ever been or ever going to be is in the universe. Just for us, it's just there for us to tap into, and it's all about frequency, vibration, and I like to throw in intent as well, because I believe your intent, it's just one more thing on the totem pole to reach a higher consciousness. You can't go into the woods with a bad intent and expect to have a good encounter with a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
Well, I've heard you talk a bit about going on investigations with people who might have had the wrong intent, and I was just wondering if you could specify what are some examples of good intent, bad intent, maybe intent that is questionable for the individual, they might think they have good intentions when they're not. How can an individual tell if they want to pursue an investigation into the paranormal?
Well, if you're going into a paranormal, if you're going into an investigation, stating you want this, you're just there to learn, or you're just there to observe, but you're carrying a gun with you. You know what I mean? So, are you there just to observe? You know what I mean? Maybe your intent is to actually kill something, but you're telling everybody else you're not. You're just there to learn and listen and experience the investigation, but your intent is totally different, And I think it works the same way, people who play with dark things, their intent is to make contact with something dark, and they do, because that's their intention. They draw, that's what they want to draw, so that's what comes to them. So I think when you're dealing with the universe, your intentions, everything knows what your intention is. You can't go in and fake it. I had one experience where a guy came in and He came out with us, and he was the only person that I never ran past my team psychic. My psychic usually reads everybody's energy before we go out, because we don't want to bring anybody out with us that has subconscious fear. Because if you're going on a ghost investigation, you got subconscious fear, and you're going into someplace dark, something dark is you're a beacon to that dark thing because of your subconscious fear, and it's going to come straight to you. And then you could put us in danger, or you could end up bringing something like that home with you, and endangering your family. So one time I didn't have somebody, because I talked to this guy over and over and over for years, and he was a great researcher, but I don't know if his intentions were bad because he was afraid, or if he just had a dark side to him and he was playing me. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I got played. Sometimes, I don't always listen to my gut. I always say listen to your gut, but sometimes I don't. I roll the dice on stuff, and I think maybe that one time I got played, and we had we really didn't have. Not that we had anything bad happen to us, but we usually have so much more of an experience. And that particular night, it was like the Sasquatches knew that this guy was with us, and they stayed on the other side of the lake. You know what I mean? When they would normally would come right in and surround us, and they would be 20 feet away in the shadows. I think it was this guy's intention, because he came in with this homemade flamethrower.
What? A flamethrower?
Came in, he had this giant backpack on, and I was like, dude, what the hell are you carrying on that backpack?
Excuse me, can you get the directions for that so I can, I'm asking for a friend.
I can, but...
why would you bring a flamethrower to hunt for a big
I'd bring one to Shop and Stop if I had one.
He said because he thought fire was the one thing that all creatures are afraid of, right? Nothing wants to get burned. So he thought if something went bad that night, he would turn this thing on and light, not only light the creature up, but light the whole woods up. And I was like, dude, you can't come out with me with this kind of stuff. What are you, out of your mind? That's right there. Your intentions are bad. I understand you're afraid for your life. Well, then you shouldn't be here. Then don't come out if you're afraid. If you have to bring something this extreme with you, then stay home. Stay home. Don't come out. And I mean, we didn't have a bad experience. We actually had an amazing experience that night, but it was was far and few between the experiences we did have. And I think it's because of that one person's intent. When we all left to go home that night, he didn't go home. He went back by himself.
Oh no.
And, I don't know what he did there when I wasn't there, and I don't know what kind of stuff he was doing or what he was practicing or playing with, and when I found that out, I was like, okay, I got your number now, I just crossed him off the list. You're never coming out with me again, Yeah. It's and that's what I mean when I talk about intent and vibration and frequency. It's raising your consciousness.
And I think, too, Danny, I always
Donnie.
do that. And I think it's my ex, because, and he's playing with me because his name was Danny, and he likes to pop in on things like this, but he does it all the time to me. So, hi, Danny. I love you too, babe. So, anyhow, you had brought it up a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Edgar Casey. So I'm wondering if when you're talking, Al, you're also talking about when these, like Tesla and Edgar Casey and other people that, get these downloads while they're sleeping. That's what I consider it. I think you're opened up, but these people were opened up all day, and I think a lot of people cut themselves short and they don't realize they're doing the same thing, Al. Like when they're gardening. When I discovered it, when I'm a jewelry maker, I'm a wire sculptor, and I would get into it and I'd really do it. Gosh, I'd feel like I just meditated for like 4 hours. You're being creative and, painting, whatever it may be. It might be a carpenter, somebody might get it by playing guitar. Writing songs,
That's me,
the
yeah.
outlet, the energy outlet, but it's also a meditation. You know what I mean? And I think people cut themselves short when they don't realize. Some people, it might be cooking. We have people here love to bake or to,
Yeah.
and cooking. All of that is a meditation thing. So when you stifle yourself from that, that's when you start feeling low on fuel. You start feeling those lower vibrational things a little bit more. So allow yourself to have those things. They're not guilty pleasures. They're actually life force. It's like playing a video game. And what do you call those things? You go by and get those little extra life packs and stuff like that. You can pick them up. That's what like meditation is. And I heard you, Al, describing about two. I think it has to do with the intent and energy, as well as everybody in the same mindset of doing your protection ceremonies, doing your stuff before and after. I'm trying to open up people to thinking too that you can be in a group and every single person there has a different, what they would consider faith-based or religion road. But when people come together in this community and we go in to a house like to help the family or help the ghost that's there or discover things, we kind of come together in that light bubble. We're all there, maybe some of us are more interested in the evidence or walking away with a picture, just to help us understand. And then some are going in like maybe the psychic or someone else who's really intent on helping the ghost. Do you need help? Do you want to have a conversation here? Do you know that you're doing this? How do you see things? Everybody's got a different purpose or interest, but I think when you come together in a group like that, it's really a powerful thing. And I like to ask people who go to investigate, what is your protection ritual? What do you do with your group? What does everybody contribute to that?
Well, what we usually do, and I'm a lunatic. I go above and beyond. Okay, and now that I've had my awakening, Brian calls it an ascension. I call it an awakening.
Yeah.
I have to even go even a lot deeper and I ground myself a lot harder because I have had things attach itself to me because of my aura, but not in dark, just something was attracted to the light. But what I usually do is, first and foremost, I'll always have a packet of kosher sea salt on me. I keep a packet, and I get mine from the Dead Sea. I order it from the Holy Land, and I always keep that to keep me grounded and protected. And then we'll do sage. We'll sage ourselves before. We'll say a white prayer or protection prayer. And there's people in the group from different faiths, and everybody will do it in their tradition.
Yes.
Everybody
That's so
does.
cool.
Everybody does it in their tradition. I may say mine in Latin. One guy may say his in English. Brian may do his in Hebrew. You know what I mean? And we all do that. And then but I don't only sage myself, or I sage my equipment too. I sage my equipment before and after, because you're using your equipment to make contact. That's your intent, right? Your intent is to make contact, have an experience. So what I do after I finish that, before I go home, I cleanse all my equipment as well, so I don't bring anybody home with me, And now I have to really go crazy. Ever since this ascension, I have to imagine myself. I know it sounds crazy.
In the bubble?
In the bubble, but it's mirrored. So I can see out, but they can't see in, And it's not only goes around me to the ground, but underneath me, almost like the cone of silence, what I mean? So, and
But it works.
It's crazy.
It works.
Yeah, well, you have to when
envision it and you make it so. It's and I'm trying to let people know too that if you manifest, your things, like saying I can't is like a self curse right out the gate. I can't. Self curse.
Absolutely.
And putting this bubble around you. I practice it at work. If I'm telling you guys, if you're interested in paranormal investigation, or if you just want to go to the grocery store, you're an empath and you don't want to get everybody's ook all over you and their feelings and go home with all that, do the mirrored ball, just like Al described. This golden light ball around you, like he said, mirrored, so you can see out, they can't see in. You're protected, and you watch the people come up and try to be negative and just get uncomfortable and walk away. It works on the living as well.
Yeah, and as I was a mailman for 32 years. I just retired. But over the years, I worked with a lot of different guys from a lot of different nationalities and different religions, from people from the Philippines to Africa. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine from Africa. And he told me, he says, in his village in Africa, they would always bring an amulet or a stone or something for protection whenever they went over to someone else's home, because they didn't know what those people were practicing in their homes behind closed doors, and you didn't want anything to. So ever since this guy told me that, I was like, oh my God, that's such a great, what a great thought. So I started carrying the salt with me at work, because as a mailman, I'm going to 10,000 houses a day.
And you're carrying mail, which also carries people's energy.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
And I'm like, you know what? And intentions in that mail. You're getting letters from a prisoner on death row.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
So I started carrying that at work with me as well. Like I said, over the years, we've dealt with all different kinds of stuff, from, shadow figures, from things from China, things from the Middle East, and because not only these people, I got into this as a paranormal investigator to help people. That was my intent. Okay. My intent was people need to be able to reach out to someone who can help them in a situation like this and not have to worry about paying them. I never charge anybody for any of the services I do. If you want to give me donation for gas or tolls or something like that, I'll take the money for that. But I'm not going to say, it's going to cost you $100. And I'm not going there for the evidence. I could care less about the evidence. I mean, the evidence is nice because you see what you got when you went in and you see what you leave with. But I'm there to help the client. That's my main objective, is to help people. And that's why I got it. That was my intention, and that's what I got into it for. And, like I said, over the years, the longer you do this, the more you learn and you adapt. And I'm not in the wildest imagination that I ever think someone from Georgia would be dealing with a jinn from the Middle East.
Yes.
And I'm telling this person, do this, do that, and nothing's working. I said, well, you know what? Send me, this person who's happened to be an artist, I said, send me a picture of what you're dealing with. And they sent me a picture of an evil jinn. And I was like, how is this possible? Well, you know how it's possible? This girl, fiance, was stationed in Iraq. And when he came back, he brought something dark back with him. And then when he went to visit her, it liked her energy and it stayed with her. So I was lucky enough to grow up in the city where, where all my friends, you talk about a motley crew, we had Irish guys, Italian guys, Jewish guys, Arab guys, everybody hung out with everybody. And I was lucky enough to have a friend of mine who was Arabic, and one of his relatives was a cleric. I think they call him a cleric. And I went to him and I talked to this guy and I says, what do we do? How do I help this person? And he told me what kind of amulets needed to buy that she could wear with her, and the stuff she needed, the herbs and the oils to banish this thing from her home, because I was just trying to make her bedroom her safe zone, so she could go to sleep at night without being attacked. And through my friends and their relatives, we were able to find out all the things that you would need. Like, you would have to go to like an actual Arab community and one of their bazaars and find someone who knows how to handle this stuff. And we did this again with we ran across another one later on for a Chinese family, you know what I mean? And we had to go through all of that with that, that side of the thing. So it's crazy because it doesn't matter what continent you're from, or what nationality you are, who you are, race, religion, whatever. Everybody has these dark and light entities, and everybody has amulets to protect themselves with stones or oils uh, um, herbs. You know what I mean? And everybody uses something different, but whatever they use for whatever they're dealing with works for that particular thing. You know,
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. And what gets me too is the crossover as well. You know, like real quick, there's nothing different than someone who's, you know, you had told me you had a white witch in your family, and I've had it in mine.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, labels, you know. So what do you call somebody who, you know, cures the sick kids in town and grows herbs in her backyard? Well, green witch. Well, you know, there's all these different things. It's intent and energy and knowledge. And knowing how to use that is really no different from, a pharmacist, a compound pharmacist putting together something to help your cold and your symptoms. It's the same type of thing, you know, but I find the crossover fascinating. So, like, I'll have someone who's, and again, I'm not bashing anybody's religion or anything like that. There's good and bad in everything. But I'll have people that say, like, they're basically, say, more of a Catholic road. And they'll say, well, you're not talking to ghosts, you're talking to demons. And, you know, you can't believe in any of that stuff. You have to do this, and this. And all of the stuff that you're doing, walking through with your sage and your sweet grass and, you know, all this other stuff is absolute, heresy and nonsense and everything else. And I'm like, really? What has that priest got in that brass ball that he's like whisking down the aisle?
Frankincense and myrrh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
5 different herbs are in there. And this is the thing. So why is that different? It's not.
It's not.
And it's not. And the entities don't know the difference. And in fact, you know, like if we know about Bill Bean and his story, an 11-year-old in a room full of adults with a Bible in one hand and a mason jar full of holy water got rid of 3 demons in the house when nobody else knew how to do it. It was just pure faith, intent, and knowledge, and being adamant. And that's the thing, Al. It's, you know, the right weapon for the right thing.
Yes, I say the right tool for the right job. That's
there you
what
go.
I say. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people don't realize that it doesn't matter if you're talking cryptids, ghosts, or UFOs. They're all connected.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I know people are going to kill me for saying this. You know,
I'm standing with you.
They're going to rip me to shreds. But there's a common thread that holds them all together. And if you don't believe that, if you choose not to believe that, then you're closing yourself off to 90% of the knowledge in the world. You know, if you're just going to look down this aisle here and you don't look what, you know, you have blinders on, all you see is straight ahead. You don't see out of your peripheral vision. You're missing so much more in the world. I mean,
well, I actually have a bit of a theory on that.
Go ahead. I'm all ears.
I feel like the people who look at the paranormal from all different points of views, those people have in their minds a paranormal theory of everything. Or if they don't have that theory, they're working on that theory. But some people go into the paranormal without even considering that the grand theory of everything, and they just focus on maybe just ghosts or maybe just UFOs. Because my interest in the paranormal is all about deconstructing reality. I don't care about individual things. Like, I want to peek under God's hood. I want to see how this thing works.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how to turn that for you.
Yeah.
So, I've been thinking a lot about the concept of a paranormal theory of everything, and I was just wondering if you guys have kind of adjusted it, if you have one formulated. Do you have a theory of how it's all related? And
well, the key word in that sentence is theory, because it's all theory and conjecture. There are no experts in any of these fields. There are 2 types of people. People who have more experience because they've been in the field longer, and experiencers who actually live and see and breathe and touch these things. That's it. That's it. There are no experts. So if the minute someone tells me they're an expert on anything, I walk away. I'm done. I was like, I don't even want to hear your theory because I'm out. But my theory, this is my theory, okay? And this is what I claim My theory, after my ascension, okay, and I was told I was going to be shown the secrets to the universe, okay, and I was told that the secret to the universe and the secret to life, right, or life after death, whatever you want to call it, right, is intent, frequency, vibration, and consciousness. These are the things that everything connects with. And there are more people now in the paranormal that are crossing over into different branches of the paranormal.
spiritual.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just saying, like, if I know people who are strictly ghost hunters, right? That's all they did. They don't. Now they're branching out into cryptids and UFOs. But you know what they're doing? They're using the same tools for everything, and they're having great success with everything because what their intent is, when you're ghost hunting and you're using a K2 meter or you're using a SP Spare 7 box, your intent is to make contact, communication, to get. It's the same thing when you're dealing with extraterrestrials or you're dealing with these cryptids. It's your intention that you want to bring them in. You want to talk to them. You want to communicate with them. And the same thing with the UFOs and the aliens. It's all about those four things. That's your connection. And I know a lot of people can't wrap their minds around it. And then look, I come a long way. You know what I mean? I was one of those guys, like don't talk to me about higher consciousness. I can't even wrap that thought around my brain. And now I'm there. I'm like, wow, I was so far off the beaten path that, like people I thought were crazy. Now I wish I would listen to them 25 years ago because I would have been so much further along than I am now.
Yeah.
Incredible,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Isn't
it incredible hindsight? Yeah.
And that's my theory. That's just my theory. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to buy it. I'm not selling anything. But that's the thread that connects it all. When you're out and you're ghost hunting, you're asking questions on EVP, you want to make communications. When you're out in the woods and you're trying to communicate with a Bigfoot or a dog man, your intent is to make communications. When you're sitting in the field and you're doing a CE5 to bring a UFO down, your intent is to make communications. It's always the same.
Froze Moments is talking about what you were talking about on the other show when you were using that to call UFOs. You were telling a little story there, and I don't know if you were with your, your paranormal group or if it was you and Bri or you and some friends out there, but I didn't quite understand what you were talking about. This is something that's new to me, but I think Froze is talking about it here. I'm a believer in being able to call UFOs. I've showed a few family members, and they look at me like, what the hell? And you were talking something about that. Is it CFIs you're talking about? Can you explain that a little? Because it's out of my, it's new to me.
It's called the CE5 when you try to make communications.
Okay.
We call it an AIE, active intelligent, encounter.
Is it like almost like remote viewing? Is it something like you're putting out your own?
No, it's your intent. We get a group of like-minded people together.
Okay.
And our intention is to call these crafts in, right? And you put this intention out into the ether of the universe. And sometimes you'll use frequencies or tones that bring them in. Sometimes we'll use stones that vibrate at a higher frequency that they're drawn to. There are a lot of little different techniques you can use. We have a ton of success with frequencies and tones and stones. And we have a lot of success at this stuff. And we can bring crafts in, and once the craft enters our realm, Brian can do some like kind of remote viewing thing where he can connect with the craft. You know what I mean?
Like
and
he can see inside?
Yeah, or he'll be inside looking out. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I would ask him so many questions.
We'll get him on here for you, Donnie.
I can't tell you how many times we've done this, and he'll say, take a picture over my right shoulder, and I'll take a picture of the sky. Now, I'm looking at the sky. There's nothing there. I take a picture of the sky, and then we blow that picture up, and there's a craft there, you know? Or take a picture this way. It's coming this way, you know? Like I said, I don't claim to be psychic by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have any special skills, but I'm affected differently, you know. I'm more of a touchy-feely kind of guy, and that's the way I am. I can't remote view. I've done martial arts my whole life. I got colored belts in 5 different martial arts, and I'm the worst person in the world when it comes to meditating. I can't meditate. No matter how much I try, my brain just won't shut off, you know, unless I'm playing my guitar. Then all of a sudden I'm gone. I'm not looking at the guitar. I don't know what I'm playing. I'm just playing, and
You're grounding.
I'm feeling it, and it sounds good. You know, if I open my eyes or try to record what I'm doing, it sounds like a cat in heat. You know what I mean? But when I'm not paying attention and I'm just letting the energy flow, you know, it sounds like Jimi Hendrix sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and it's just going through you, but it's no different, the guitar, than the dowsing rods. Do you know what I mean?
I love the dowsing rods. Oh, my God.
That's what I use. I got them right here.
I love the dowsing rods.
But you have something in common. Donnie's also done lots of martial arts. And I'm wondering if that also that's something to get in tune with yourself and inside. And, you know, whether you can meditate or not, I think we've all found different ways at this stage in our lives to meditate. Like we said before, could be cooking. Could be other people aren't calling it meditating, but planting a garden and flowers is definitely grounding, you know.
Yeah.
A tree is grounding, and imagining your energy going down into the tree and
Well,
pulling back
you know
up.
you know what martial arts mainly taught me is how to take an ass beating. Like learning how to lose. Just getting your ass kicked. Like people need to experience that sometimes.
Yeah,
yes, it's a good point, Donnie.
The magic of martial arts, absolutely,
Know how to get your ass beat, and then, you know, I think it also teaches you how to get back up again, and that's definitely for life, because when you go down and you stay down, you're not going anywhere, and I think it's the same thing with vibration, and so many people can get stuck down in that, and I think as a people, you know, we've definitely hit this time. I don't know whether people believe in this whole 10-year thing where you have war and then you have a depression, or you have a stock market crash and then, you know, you have like a 10-year thing, and it's like this loop we're on. I don't know if it's that or if it's right now. I think people's consciousness are being raised. I say it all the time. I feel like it's the stand. Like people are being drawn. You're picking a lane. We're picking, you know, you're either awake or you're going to stay asleep. And I think that it's put us like that.
I also think
I
think it's you too. Like, I'm a very positive person. I look at a glass half full. I see the glass half full. My wife sees it half empty. You know what I mean? I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. I always look at the bright side of everything. It makes my wife nuts. You know what I mean? Because you know, the car broke down in the driveway. I can't get out. I can't get to work. Well, at least it broke down in the driveway. You know, you're home.
Yeah.
You didn't break down in the middle of the parkway where you can't even get a tow truck to come and get you. You know what I mean?
You look for the silver lining. I call it the Felix Unger syndrome, because when I was young, I used to watch the Odd Couple. And Felix was like this. And for you young people that don't understand, Felix was very boisterous and just, you know, he had his idiosyncrasies for sure. But, you know, they'd have a blackout in New York and all the lights would go out, and he'd say, perfect opportunity to defrost the refrigerator, you know, or the freezer. He would always find that silver lining, and it made Oscar nuts. But that's part of it too, and I think that there's this consciousness level coming up, and I do think that there's a connection, because Al, when you're walking through the woods, now this is something the native side taught me. My people always taught me in secret, little spurts here and there, because think about the time my grandmother was born 1890. Wow. So you're thinking in New Jersey. So the stuff that was going on at that time, they lied and told everybody they were immigrants. They had to lie on their own land to say that they were immigrants so they wouldn't lose things and be sent away, or bad things can happen to you if they know that
absolutely,
you're,
yeah.
Native American.
Native American, yeah.
So they would tell you stuff, like they would take me out into the woods and teach me like sassafras or gathering herbs and the wonderful, little things like take 1/3 to live, 1/3 for this, all the little things. And of course there's things
Uh-oh.
in the
Uh-oh.
woods. We are
Okay.
walking in their territory. You see what I mean? And you have to respect that. You respect Earth. You live with the Earth, not on it. That's what I was taught. And the main thing that got me was, like I said, it would come in little snippets, and then you didn't go home and talk about it around the table. You took what you got when you got it, and you put it in your pocket and tried to put it all back together later. And the big thing with my grandmother was, there are things that we don't speak of because when you speak of them, they hear you.
Intense. It's intense.
Absolutely. And when you go into the woods, you have the respect about you, that you respect everything first. You stay on the path. You don't destroy. Like say if you're building a fire, you wouldn't build a fire where it would scar the earth. You would set it to where it wouldn't. Just that type of thing. The big thing that got me out that I didn't understand for years and years later was when she put her hands on my shoulder. She got real close to me and she said, I don't want you to be afraid of the spiritual creatures. I just don't want them to take you with them. I'm like, well, how the hell do I prevent that? Because I don't want it either. But little things like that, so you sit and you wonder, take me with it. Where am I going to go? What's going on? I was taught at a young age, not only can they take you with them, but about portals, about these spots in homes, in land, in rock. What have you found out about these things? And I totally agree with everything I've heard you say about Bigfoot, because it goes with everything that my people taught me. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there are certain locations on this planet that have, what do they call it? High strangeness, right? People call it high strangeness. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't call it high strangeness. I think these are points on Earth that create their own vortexes. For whatever reason, maybe there's a lot of in the limestone. There's a lot of quartz. Maybe underneath that quartz, there's a running a river rolling through it, and you got the water on the quartz, and you're creating all this energy. And there are things in the woods. I always tell people, when you go into the woods, protect yourself spiritually and physically, because there are so many things in the woods around us that you don't see. That are there. They're spiritual things that are there, and because you don't see them. Look, people in general walk through the woods oblivious to everything. You know what I mean? There could be a mountain lion on a branch looking down at them.
Yeah,
they
walk through life like that. That's
right.
what I mean. Yeah.
So when you go into the woods, always respect what you're going into. Respect it, and treat it with respect. And be aware of your surroundings at all times. And I didn't have anybody tell me that. I spent a lot of time in the woods growing up as a kid. I was attracted to the woods. You know what I mean? That's where I was always. My father would say, "Go out and play in the street. Go play football in the street." Mm-hmm. But I would be in the woods. Because in the street, he could look out the window and see me, you know what I mean? Keep an eye on me. When I'm in the woods, he doesn't know what the hell I'm doing, Mm-hmm. So, but we would always go to the woods. Boom, we were always in the woods. But we never did anything to disrespect. Like when I would see kids lining up beer bottles and then busting them with rocks, and there would be all this shard, all these glass all over the place. I would want to kick all of their asses. You know what I mean? What are you doing that for? Take the beer bottles out, you throw them in the garbage can on the way out. You know what I mean? I lighting fires and stuff, and they don't put the rocks around it. They don't dig down a little bit, so it's just dirt underneath it. You know what I mean? So nothing else can get caught on fire and it spreads. Just no common sense and no respect to Mother Nature. This planet is the most beautifulest planet in the universe. God, just look at it from above.
I
You
know.
see, it's such a beautiful planet. Look around you. Just stop for a second and smell the roses. Today, I was just looking out at the bird feeder. Right? My wife's got 2 bird feeders up there. They were empty. She put bird food out there because of all the ice and everything we've got, right? The birds flocked to it, and there were so many different birds, and it was so beautiful. I mean,
It
it's
is.
just amazing how beautiful just these birds are, different colors and everything. And I'm like, so it's such a beautiful planet, and people just don't respect it. I'm insane when it comes to recycling. They call me the recycling Nazi. You know what I mean? Because I recycle everything.
It kills me going to a mountain and seeing an old beer can in a lake. I have to go clean it up. I can't leave it. I mean, it's just, and to say with like the birds, the first thing I think of when it's a blizzard, I know I've got plenty of food and everything's taken care of. The next thing is I go buy 40 pounds of bird seed because I know that's going to be the entertainment for the day, watching the snow and building a spot where the birds can come in and sheltered. I've actually carved out the back of our trees, our shrubs that are around our house. So it's got like this little carve out where they can just hide in there and watch all little birds and stuff. It's amazing.
Little igloo.
And I think it's the important thing is to understand that they're thriving. They're going about their business. They're, doing everything that they're supposed to do, whether it's being raccoons that are adapting on how to open your garbage cans and locks on your gate now, or I think they'll be driving cars by next week. I really do. And then, the squirrels adapting to do stuff, the chipmunks. I'm watching everybody's, habits change too. I swear birds had 2 sets. Some of the ones that aren't supposed to, babies. And I'm wondering if they're trying to make up for, I really sit there and think that. I'm wondering if they're trying to make up for all we lost in the wildfires. Like nature knows these things. The earth knows how to survive us.
Absolutely.
And I just think that we should stop just trying to survive and try to live a little bit and understand how much beauty and how much wonder and how much cool shit is out there that we're just dismissing, out of things that we've been told and not to ask questions about those things. And I think we're starting to tap in now to part of what our potential really is. I think we've been either taught not to reach our full potential, or the things with the pineal gland like fluoride
Absolutely,
and things
without
like
a
this.
doubt, yes.
We're not reaching our full potential. I think we're craving it, Al.
Yeah.
I think we're craving it, like needing one eat spinach because we're short on iron, or
Right.
I
Yep.
think that's part of what's going on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think there's a higher consciousness thing happening, not only here, and I think I'm not a big thing. Like I'm not one of those people who are crazy when it comes to like, the environment. I mean, I love the environment, to protect the environment, keep the environment clean and stuff. But as far as like global warming and all of that stuff, the Earth is going to change. Every 2,000 years, whatever, the axis changes a little bit, and things happen, and that's gonna touch everything. But I also think they're like, I don't know. And it was like my father, when I was a kid, there used to be this commercial with this Indian guy, right?
Yep.
And it was
The
people
crying
would throw
Indian?
throw the garbage.
Yeah.
And my father, that commercial, my father was a guy who dropped out of school in the 7th grade to go work construction his whole life because of the Great Depression. He was a manly man, okay?
Yeah.
He had a vice grip hand that would just like forget about it. And that commercial brought tears to his eyes, and my father would never walk by a piece of trash on at the beach or at the lake and not pick it up and throw it, and it would drive him absolutely insane when he's seen it. And that relates, and that's the same way I am today. If I see somebody throw a piece of garbage out the window of their car, I want to grab it, race up to them and jam it in their window and say, "Hey, this is your trash. Take it home with you. Don't just throw it out the window." I can't stand people who throw shit out the window. It just makes me insane, It's not your garbage can. The world is not your garbage can.
Or go to the beach. How many times after 4th of July or Labor Day or whatever holiday it is, you go to the beach and they leave all their garbage all over. It's like a big sand pit full of garbage. But you can't smoke on the boardwalk. You smoke on the boardwalk, you're gonna all the same people that did the same thing will come up to you and say, you got to put that out. You can't. All those people are not realizing, they're so worried about what you're doing, they're not seeing what they're doing. And I think we need to get back into that whole thing of self-respect, respecting your people around you, respecting the earth that you live on. This crap about, I get science. I'm not a science person when it comes to, there's no way I could sit and hold a conversation and use all the right vernacular, but I'm going to tell you right now, this earth does not give a shit about us. It survived so much stuff we didn't cause with cars or this or anything else. There's slight differences, but we're not taking this earth out because we threw the thing is what's right and what's wrong. It's like what your mom used to tell you. This is your room. These are your things. If you want to keep your things in your room like this, you're going to take that look and that attitude out into the world, and you're going to, if you want to treat yourself and your room and your space like garbage, the world is going to smell that on you, and they're going to treat you like garbage.
Amen.
So there you go. I know you had some more questions about energy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Talk.
Oh, I was wondering, you've probably met a lot of people in the paranormal community, and I'm kind of new to this whole community.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. Absolutely, I'm an old man.
after having met so many people, like, how do you differentiate someone having a healthy relationship with the paranormal versus an unhealthy relationship? Like, what's some advice you would give someone if they're kind of on the edge of having a healthy or unhealthy fascination with the paranormal?
Well, with me, it's a gut feeling. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be invited to a lot of symposiums and sit down with a lot of famous people, and I like to pick people's brains. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I've been very lucky that the people who have been very nice to me and had conversations with me and talked to me like they knew me forever. You know what I mean? And I don't know. And I get to pick their brain, and I get to learn from these people. And you just know after you have a conversation with somebody who's the real deal and who's in it for the right reasons and who's in it to get rich and famous or be a celebrity. You know what I mean? And then and it all takes is a conversation with people, and you'll get it like that. You say, okay, this guy's just in it for the fame and fortune. He could give two shits about helping people. He doesn't really even believe in his stuff. He just wants to be on TV. Or I've been lucky enough to meet the Warrens. And
Mm-hmm.
the Warrens were like, oh my God, that was an amazing experience, and they were really into it. I mean, for the right reasons, to help people. You know what I mean? Lorraine Warren was so special. And Ed, I mean, to do what he did for as long as he did, people don't realize when you're a demonologist, it takes years off your life. Okay?
Mm.
I had a conversation with John Zaffis one time, and he was telling me, he said, Al, I did an exorcism up in Boston one time. I did an exorcism in Boston, 3 years later, he was in New York City for a symposium. He was walking past the Bowery and all the bums that were on the Bowery. And there's this one homeless guy laying on the street looking like, never had a decent meal in his life. And the guy jumps up, like all of a sudden he had all this energy, he jumps up and he looks at John Zaffis and he goes, John Zaffis, I know who you are. And Zaffis knew right away that the demon that was in this guy was the same demon he expelled up in Boston. He just knew, and more than one or two demonologists have told me this because I ask people questions. I like to pick their brains, and believe me, you can't kill a demon. You can just banish it, and if you banish it enough times, you run across the same ones, and they know you. They know who you are. They see.
I'm pretty sure demons would hold a grudge. They seem like they would.
It depends on, the kind of level of demon they are. If you've banished them 2 or 3 times, then they're probably scared to death to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're using this vessel to live here on this earth, and they're afraid that, you're going to recognize them. He says, I would have never even looked twice at that guy laying on the cardboard floor in an alleyway. But he came over to me and he said something to me, and it's like, then I knew who I was dealing with, It's just crazy. I mean, and that stuff, my brother was going to become, before he became a parapsychologist, he was going to become a demonologist. And Ed Warren said, Frank, don't do it. Takes years off your life. Don't do it.
It does for mediums and psychics, especially trans mediums like Ethel Myers and Sybil Leek and the people that, got famous through. They don't realize that a trans medium actually goes through and lets the spirit use their body and their vocal cords and their mind, the whole thing.
That whole thing.
And it really does take so much out of them. I know some really, really good ones, and I know some really good ones that are on television, and they'll tell you, this is how the producers handle it. This is how this does. This is what I do. And I'm doing this because I feel like I can help more people by getting the word out. But then, the producer, you've been on TV. You just finished a documentary. Now, you're probably dealing with people that are putting it out there like you say it, and they're not chopping it up and making, you guys are careful about what you and Brian do and putting out your intent and your wisdoms and the things, your theories and stuff. And, it's bad when you get into something like that. Anybody will tell you, Jack Kenna will say he's had great experiences with the people he works with, and he doesn't mind the little changes here and there, but there's some that go out there now, and we won't mention them. Obviously, you can see them on TV. That I tell you guys, it's a setup. The whole thing from soup to nuts. And anybody I've ever talked to where they've had their house done by some of these groups will tell you that it's not like what you see on TV. What the real people are here in this chat, they're the people that It's Al and it's Brian and it's, myself. When I get called, I very rarely do I seek it. I just wind up. I'm led like you, Al. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm going somewhere, and I'm this direction. You know that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it comes down to that damn intent and stuff again. You can't hide that, Al. You can't even hide it from, you can try to hide it from yourself, like that one guy who thought he might be going in for this, but he was really going in for something else. He really knows, but he's got a lot of stuff he's got to work out. We're human beings, and we don't understand ourselves half the time. And we're trying to talk to somebody who's dead and may not even know it.
All right.
And it may not even be a human entity. So
right.
When you're out in the woods, I think I'm more comfortable there than going into a dark cellar of somebody's house, because I don't, again, those people who live there have put their energy in it. That land had its energy before the house was built. Then you've got everything else that's drawn because these people. I still can't get over people who say, well, this is a brand new house. Nothing's ever happened here. And I'm like, well, honey, you picked it up at the grocery store, or, it's an accident from 4 miles down the street that was brought, guided here because it saw a light of some kind. Somebody in here has an ability.
Yeah.
There's so many different levels to this. And I don't understand why people can't imagine or wrap their head around that aliens, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, whatever you want to say, walking in and out of portals, whatever.
Yep.
Cryptids, same thing, whether they're here and been here or come from another spot, Bigfoot and all these that have telepathic abilities.
Yes. Please, thank you for using that word telepathic, because I can't stand when people call it mind speak. It makes me lose my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's telepathic communication.
It is.
It's not the woo. It's interdimensional travel. Please don't dumb it down. Don't make it sound like we're idiots. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Call it what it is. Oh, thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Well, you're with Sys-Cho now. It's okay.
Brian knows that drives me totally insane.
Well, this is what I've always called it, and I said it's a telepathic ability. One of my first ghosts was speaking to me through, telepathic. They're speaking to me, and their mouth isn't moving.
Yeah.
but I'm hearing them clearly, and different things like that, where also certain things have the ability to manifest, to change what you see and hear. All of these abilities were just, really clicking into it. But I think you've got to start with yourself and stop limiting yourself. Al, like you said, you do this, you put yourself in the bubble, you go the extra round, because when you didn't, the things that happened or could have happened.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong or woo-woo about it. We all do things like this, and we all do little things like, the lucky shirt on game day. And things like that. Like, that's okay, but, telling, that you saw a UFO or you saw an unidentified flying something or other is considered crazy. So I think we've come a long way from when we were reading books in the 3rd grade and trying to go to that library, get that book out on Friday.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just devouring it, because we didn't have shows. We couldn't talk about this stuff as much. You were lucky, like you said, in your family, you had a little bit of connection there where everybody was a little into things and you could talk. But a lot of people couldn't. Like in my household, my dad wasn't having any of the nonsense. We're in a full-blown haunted house, 200-year-old farmhouse, like just, right on Revolutionary War battlegrounds, right?
Oh, jeez.
And my dad was a PTSD, World War II.
Oh, wow.
Alcoholic who liked to get mean.
Oh, wow.
So it took me years to put all of those pieces together to say, okay, maybe when he came in, that activated something in the house, woke it up because of his energy. And then to look at it the other way too, like maybe their energy also woke him up. The battle together is real, and it's not any one thing. It's multiple energies and things.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. Absolutely.
Like in a house, it has to do with everybody. The first thing an investigator does is try to figure out if there's mental illness. Is there a divorce going on? Is there abuse? Is there this? Is there that? Everybody thinks it's just going in with a K2 meter and a recorder and going, look, I got a cool picture. And there's so much more to it than that, isn't there?
Oh yeah, because you have to ask people the tough questions, right? Are you on medication?
Yeah.
Have you ever been, put away for anything, I mean, people, it's hard to ask people very personal questions like that, and then expect them to tell you the truth,
It's
but
hard, man.
But if you're not telling me the truth, then I can't help you. I got to walk away because I don't know what I'm walking into. You want me to help you? I want to help you. But you got to be honest with me, and you got to tell me what's going on with you personally. You know what I mean? And are you on depression medication? You got to tell us, and you have to ask those tough questions. And a lot of people, they don't want to go the extra mile. I've
it's
walked
all
away
part
from
of
people.
it.
I've walked away from people who I knew straight up was bullshitting, telling me no, they're not this, no, not that, and I was like, you know what? You're not being honest with me. The red flags are going off in my head saying you're full of shit. If you want me to help you, but you can't be honest with me, I'm out of here. I'm not wasting my time and energy here. I'm gone,
And also, there's also the things that the completely innocent stuff where you've got people with abilities that are trying to suppress it, that don't know how to, find that outlet, to find that grounding or that, or how to quiet it down and whatever. And energy is going to find a way to manifest.
Yeah.
So if you're angry and you have abilities, you could be the one slinging glasses across the room with PK or this or anything else. And you've got to, and then you've got, Maggie on the couch over here who thinks she's a toaster on a good day, and popping all kinds of stuff. And, it's just, you can have that kind of household. I lived in that household. Where there was so much craziness going on. And, I ended the whole chapter in the book by saying, if it's true that negative entities feed on fear and, and anger and all of this, the battling in the house and everything else, it was like a buffet in that house for them. Of course they were drawn to it. And people don't quite get that. And I think it's a little different in the woods because now you're not in your territory, you're in their territory. And they damn well know you're there, you're coming before you know you're going.
And they see you. They see your aura. You're walking in the woods in the pitch black, and there are all kinds of different entities in the woods. Remember, this whole planet was nothing but woods at one time. So there's all kinds of different entities that you can't see because they're in different spectrums of light. They're in different dimensions, but they're peeking through the veil. And here you come walking through the wood with your aura, and they see that coming a mile away. Now, if it's all white, they know your intention. If it's black, they know your intention. But they see you coming, and some of them run the other way, and some of them run towards you because they don't want you there, you know?
And some of them, I think, have cloaking abilities. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? This whole, I know people like to put stuff on there like, Glimmer Man and things like that. But I've seen things in the woods that I know darn well just had some kind of a, I don't know whether they changed their vibration and they're vibrating on a different level. And I just, like a dog whistle, I can't hear it because of the vibration, so I can't see it. I'm not understanding enough to know whether if it's a different vibration, if it changed how you see that. Can you explain a little bit of that to me? It's just a feeling I have.
Again, it's just theory and conjecture. Absolutely. Right. I believe that there are creatures and entities in the woods that can change their vibration to make them look invisible. I believe there are entities in the woods that are like chameleons that can change their color of their skin to blend into their environment, whether it's summer, winter, or fall, or whatever. You know what I mean? They blend in. You don't see them. I also think there are entities in the woods that can raise their vibrations to change the spectrum of light they're in, so you can't see them. If you're walking through the woods with a night vision camera and your IR light is on, and they can see that our eye light like a laser beam, like we see a laser, right? They see the IR. Well, if they raise their vibration, right, now they're in a different spectrum of light. Your night vision camera doesn't see them anymore. They've just disappeared, you know. But they didn't disappear. They changed the spectrum of light they're in, and I think they do that by changing their vibration, raising it to a higher level.
Like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
I mean, here's sound that we can hear,
right.
And then you just keep going up in their vibration. And the only reason I started thinking about it that way is because of the things that I heard from, my grandparents that were able to tell me little things like this. It's like, you may not see them, but they see you.
Oh,
they're there. And, it was almost common knowledge for us that said that Bigfoot, what they described to me as Bigfoot, could go in and out at will, where they had places they knew they could go in and come back out of wherever that is. Right. And that's what was explained to me, is they didn't know if they took me in there, if they could ever get me back. They would have to, they didn't say they couldn't. They just knew that it was going to be a little work, and I would have loved to have been able to dig. Absolutely. Go ahead, honey.
Absolutely.
Can I offer an analogy?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Imagine if you were standing over an anthill, right? And none of the ants can see you, but you see all of them, right? And you're right there standing in front of them, but the ants just continue about their business. And if you choose to make yourself known to them, then you could just stick your finger on an ant or whatever. But as long as you're just standing over them, they won't see you, because their perception of reality doesn't pertain to stuff our size. It's like a dimension of perception. And so you could see very easily how something on a hard, like if we're the ant and they're on that level of someone looking down at us, it's plausible, actually. It makes a lot of sense.
I think it's too, we get ourselves into this thing. I explain it sometimes as almost like the food chain. Okay, we have this feeling like we're at the top of the food chain. Oh, really? When's the last time you were in the ocean, baby?
Yeah, really.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are being taken out by a tiny little microorganism. A little bit of bacteria in the wrong cut can get you. So where do you think that we are on the food chain? It's a circle. And when you start thinking about it being a circle, like they say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, from, earth we came and from earth we will go back. And I was always taught everything in a circle, the circle of life, basically,
Yes.
when you think about that, it changes your perspective that we are here, we're coexisting with so many things, and we're not the smartest, we're not the most progressive, we're just not. And if you think you are, go look at the raccoons in my backyard who have found a way to live in a society where we keep making their world smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and you could say the same about Native Americans. Their world got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and and look what we've done with it. So we're coming back to that natural progression of things, of earth to from the earth and goes back into the earth, because if we don't keep replenishing it, we don't take care of it, it's not going to take care of us. I don't understand these people who want to cut down all the trees. Do you not know we need those to breathe? And what is wrong with people destroying the water and doing this? So we are getting to that point where we're starting to notice a little bit more and be a little more conscious of that. But until we get our heads up out of the phones, and we're not even, I've seen people, you're in New York, man. There's a body laying in the street. People don't even look at they step over, but now they're not even looking anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's an incredible thing to be where we are in New Jersey. I can remember so many things happen in New York where I was, and being so close to New York and back and forth, we always kind of consider that we're so close. One of the things that happened that we wanted to talk about tonight was something that happened in 1976, and that was the Son of Sam killings. And Mr. Sir Bowden told me to please ask you about that because you had a different vantage point. Now, I can remember the girls cutting their hair. I can remember 76, the Summer of Sam. I can remember, I was probably 13, so I wasn't sitting in too many cars yet having conversations. But let me tell you something, this was scary. What do you want to tell us about that?
Well, yeah, Son of Sam, that was a crazy time. When I first started at the post office, they send you out with the senior guys to train you, and I was going out with this guy, and he had a building route, and he was telling me about his buddy, his best friend, had a route over North Yonkers, and he delivered to the Son of Sam building, okay, and he's been delivering in that building for years and years and years, and never had an incident. It's a high-end building with a doorman. Everybody lives in it, are professional people. Beautiful pool in the back, tiki bar. Just a really, really nice building. That whole area was. And so he's telling me about his friend, and he's telling me that one Halloween, his friend, I think we'll call him Joe, was delivering to the building, and Joe had to use the restroom. Now, there was a restroom down in the garage that was for the people at the pool, because the pool was just at the other end of the parking lot, and there was where the tiki bar was and everything. And if you weren't down there, you would just walk into the garage and use the bathroom. And Joe had used his bathroom a million times. And right next door to this building was Untermeyer's Park, and Untermeyer's Park was famous for devil worshiping. It was, when I was a kid going to the park listening to rock concerts, they were sacrificing animals in the woods at night. You know what I mean? So, so anyway, Joe goes into this bathroom, and again, this guy's been on this route for many, many years, 10 years. Goes into this bathroom. It happens to be Halloween. He's looking for the doorman. The doorman's nowhere to be found, because the doorman had a bathroom upstairs, and he couldn't find the doorman. And he's looking for the super. Figured he'd use the super's bathroom. Super wasn't around. He figured he was, in the building somewhere working. So he said, "Oh, you know what? I got to go downstairs. I got to use the bathroom downstairs." Joe goes downstairs. He's in the bathroom doing his business, and all of a sudden, he hears chanting. He's like, "What the hell's going on?" He hears chanting, starts to smell smoke. So He opens up the door after he's finished doing his business. He opens up the door and he sees like 4 people in hoods around
jeez.
a pentagram on fire in the garage with black smoke billowing up, hitting the ceiling and coming back down. And at one point, in the middle of the black smoke came up some gray smoke. And what came out of this gray smoke was a demon. He called it the devil, okay? But he said a demon, a devil, whatever. And it came over to him because he's sticking his face out the bathroom door looking. And it comes over to him and it tells him, for what you've seen here today, I'll have your soul. So Joe freaks out. He goes back to the post office. He tells the boss, I'm done. I'm not going back into that building ever again. As a matter of fact, I'm taking a leave of absence. I need some time off. He tells the boss what happens. The boss is like, okay, you know, whatever. And Joe goes home. Over a period of time, a couple of months, he becomes an alcoholic. Starts fighting with his family. Wife leaves him throws him out, takes the kids, takes the house. All this horrible stuff is happening. And this guy is telling me this story, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, and I don't know if this guy's pulling my leg because I'm a newbie, you know what I mean? Or what, you know, I'm thinking he's jerking my chain, right?
Wait,
So
you're
this is-
talking to Joe or talking to another
no,
guy?
I'm talking to his buddy Sam.
Okay.
Sam is telling me about Joe. He said, because the way it started is like, listen, if you ever do this route, we'll call it number 28. If you ever do 28 route and you get to this building, don't ever go downstairs and use the bathroom, because this is what happened to my best friend.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I was like, okay, you know, whatever. And so, because he was saying, so then, as it's going on with the story, he's telling me, well, it's at some point while Joe was off out of work, a route came up in a different part of town. Okay, now Yonkers is like the third biggest city in the state. It's got like 5-6 different stations in it, right? Post offices. He goes to the station. It's called the Santariga station, and he starts working out of this station on East Yonkers. And while he's working there, he's all of a sudden he's got a really nice route, beautiful neighborhood, and he's like the mayor of the street. Everybody knows him. People like him. He gets an apartment on the route. All of a sudden, his life changes, you know, and everything is going good. Him and his wife are talking about getting back together, and everything is going good. And you know, and Sam is telling me all this stuff. What Sam doesn't know is that my brother-in-law works in that Santariga station, okay? And as soon as I get home, because my brother-in-law lives around the corner from me, I'm going to go to my brother-in-law and I'm going to validate everything this guy's telling me, because I think this guy is jerking my chain. So as this is happening, at one point, Joe is delivering the mail, and there's this one street. It's just a dead end street with a little patch of grass at the end with a giant oak tree, and it's just got houses on one side. As he starts delivering this street, a black cat shows up out of nowhere, and this black cat starts attacking him every time he gets towards the end of the block. So he starts leaving these people's mail at the post office, thinking it's their cat. So people haven't gotten mail in a couple of weeks. They call the post office and say, what's going on with our mail? We're not getting our mail. So he says, the supervisor says, I don't know. I'll find out when, you know, the carrier gets off the road. So Joe gets off the road. And he says, hey, what's going on with this people's mail? He says, oh, they got a goddamn cat. Every time it comes after me, every time I get down to their house, it attacks me. He goes, I sprayed it with the dog spray. It has no effect on the cat, you know? And this cat chases me off the neighborhood. So the boss says, okay, I'll talk to these people. Now, my brother-in-law comes in off the road, and my brother-in-law is Joe's floater. He does the route when Joe is off. So he asks my brother-in-law, have you ever had a problem with a black cat attacking on the street? My brother-in-law starts laughing. He says, I deliver the mail to all the houses when I go down that street. I never see the black cat there. Okay. So then the truck driver comes off the road, and the supervisor grabs the truck driver and says, "Hey, you ever have any issues delivering packages to this house on the street?" He says, "No, why?" He says, "Well, Joe says there's a black cat attacking him," and the truck driver starts laughing. He says, "I never seen a cat on that street. As long as I've been delivering packages there for 15 years, I've never seen a cat there." So the supervisor gets the mail, brings it to the people's house on Saturday, rings the doorbell, says, "Listen, if you don't keep the cat in during the day, you're not going to get your mail because it's attacking the mailman." And the people look at the supervisor like, "You got two heads." He's like, "What are you talking about? We don't even own a cat. There's no cats on this street." So at one point, Joe's delivering the mail, and the cat's waiting for him. So Joe starts putting the mail in the neighbor's mailbox and telling these people, "If you want your mail, it'll be next door in the neighbor's mailbox." You know what I mean? So you don't have to come to the post office to get it, but your cat is attacking me. Some point during the summer, the cat starts talking to Joe, mental telepathy. And he tells Joe, "By the end of the summer, when the summer's over, I'll have your soul." So Joe starts to freak out, right? Now the boss thinks Joe's hitting the sauce again or something because no one has a problem with this house but him. So the end of the summer comes rolling around, and Joe hasn't come back from the road yet. It's like a Labor Day weekend, I think, is at the end of the summer, Memorial Day, I forgot which one it is. And he hasn't come back off the road. The truck drivers are always the last guy to come back off the road. And he asked the truck driver, "Did you see Joe out there?" And he says, "No, but I seen his car at the end of the route. I'm assuming he's, done by now, And he says, "Could you do me a favor? Go out there and get him. Tell him to come back to the station. I want to go to hell home. It's Saturday, it's a long weekend." So the truck driver says, "Fine." He jumps back in his truck. He goes back out there, pulls down the street. And to get down the street, you have to back down it because you can't turn the truck around on it. It's too small.
Yeah.
Backs down it, looks around, sees all the houses got mail. He knows Joe's delivered the mail there. Gets out of the house, looks up at...
Oh, shoot.
Oh, wait. Oh, no.
Wait, no way.
That's a...
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
The timing on that, dude?
That timing.
Are you serious? Al, if you can hear us, you froze up on us, honey. So, oh, jeez. Can you believe this?
That's a crazy time to freeze up.
That is a crazy time to freeze up. Do you see a cat? You don't have a cat anywhere, do you? Okay, wait a minute. He's back. He's back. Let me take him off here. Here we are. Boy, was that timing. You got a cat. Yeah, look on the floor. Is there a cat walking around?
So he backed the truck down.
I have two cats.
Oh.
I don't see one near me, though.
It's okay. You got orbs flying all around you, babe.
Yeah, I know.
They've been having a party behind you tonight. So you back the truck up.
He gets out of the truck and he goes, "Let me look in where the little patch of grass is. Maybe Joe's sleeping behind a tree or something, so nobody can see him." Goes over there and there's Joe hanging from his mailbag on the tree, committed suicide. So Joe died. Okay, so my brother-in-law validates My brother-in-law validates the story. So okay. So now I go back. I know that this story is true. So a couple of months go by, summertime rolls around and my boss says to me, "Hey, listen, I need you to hold down 28 route. Okay. The carrier got hurt and I'm going to need you to hold. He's going to be out for a long time." I said, "Okay, I'll hold it." It's a nice route, nice neighborhood, all upscale buildings, It's like, no problem. He says, "But whatever you do, I don't ever want you using the bathroom in this." He said it was building number 42. And I want you using the bathroom in 42 Pine Street, down in the basement. And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Don't ask me why." He goes, "I don't give a shit if you have to jump in your car and drive back to the post office. Don't go down to that basement for any reason." I said, "Okay." So I go. It's the summertime. I'm delivering the mail there. Building gets a lot of mail. A lot of important people live there. I go to the doorman, I'm leaving packages with the doorman. I'm leaving accountables with the doorman. And the doorman says, hey, these people are downstairs at the pool. They're having an ice cream party down there. Why don't you go down there and they'll get signed for it. So all summer long, I'm going down to the pool, delivering, registered letters, certified letters, having these. I'm not having any issues with the garage. I've used the bathroom down in the basement 100 times, not having any issues down. As a matter of fact, people treated me like gold. Anytime they had food, hot dogs, hamburger, I'll sit down. You get a break too. Have a hamburger, have a hot dog, have a soda. Okay, so this is going on all summer long. I'm in and out of that building. I'm loving this route. It's a beautiful route, nice route. October rolls around.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Now, what I
Good old
noticed
October.
was, what I noticed originally was that the building, the first day I delivered the mail, the building was number 42, but it was on the odd side of the street. So I said, little red flags go up. Like, why is this building got an even number on the odd side of the street? It doesn't make any sense to me, So I start asking about what's going on. Oh, 35. No, that used to be 35. They changed the number because that's the Son of Sam building. Okay. So now I find out it's the Son of Sam building. So now I start talking to the super and I'm saying, hey, listen, you got to bring me upstairs to Sam's apartment. I got to see Sam's apartment, So he's like, oh, I don't want to go up to that apartment. We use it for storage now. And I don't even go in there. I send my guys in to get stuff. I said, come on, bring me up. I want to check it out, right? Because I'm delivering mail to Sam was the dog. Sam's dog was the thing talking to David Berkowitz. And I'm delivering mail to Sam's house, too. And Sam's house faces the building. Mm-hmm. And Berkowitz's apartment faces the gate where the dog would be. Mm-hmm. So I go up. We get in the elevator. We go up. And the higher you got, he was like on the 7th floor or something. And the higher you got, the heavier the energy got. Yeah. And when that elevator door opened, I swear to God, I thought the devil himself was going to be standing there. That's how dark the energy was. So as we walk down, he gives me the keys. He goes, you go, I'm not going down there. I open the door, I go in, I walk around, I go to the living room, I look out the window, I see the pool, I see Sam's the guy Sam who had dogs gate. I go into his bedroom, I see it's got the same view. I come back out and I'm thinking to myself, how do the people who live next door or above or below not feel this energy? Because this is dark. I mean, this is scary shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is dark energy. I get in the elevator, I go back downstairs. I said, thank you very much for showing me the apartment. So now I know what I'm dealing with now, So now my brain starts thinking, and I'm thinking, man, the people he sees, you can't get into that garage unless you come in through the front doors and go through the doorman, or you got some kind of button that you can press to go in with your car. That thing locks. You're not getting into that garage. And the backyard is fenced in with a 12-foot fence. You're not getting in there. So, all right, Halloween comes. I got to go to the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
All right. Doorman's nowhere to be found. Calls in sick that day. I ring the super's bell. He never answers the door. I was like, am I really going to drive all the way back to the post office to use the bathroom? Or am I just going to use this bathroom downstairs that I've used all summer long? Mm-hmm. I'm going to the bathroom downstairs, okay? I go in the bathroom. I'm sitting in the bathroom. I'm taking care of my business. And I start hearing chanting.
Oh, no.
And I know right away what's going on. So I shut the light off in the bathroom. And I sit there. And I crack the door open like this much. And again, I see the same guys that I was told with the black things, and the fire, the smoke coming out of the black soot coming up. I close the door nice and quietly. I lock it. I sit on the floor with my back to the door, and I just stay there. I don't move. I don't even breathe. I just sit there. After about an hour, the doorman was there. I just couldn't find him. I think he was out to lunch or something. After about an hour, the super and the doorman come downstairs looking for me because they see all the bags of mail in front of the mailboxes. They
Oh,
know I'm in the
wow.
building. So
Right.
they know I'm in the building, and all the packages are there. So they know I didn't deliver any of the packages. So they come downstairs and they knock on the door. And they go, Al, are you in there? And I go, yeah, I'm in there. And they're like, okay, we're going to take the door off the hinges. We'll get you out. And I'm like, no, I can get out. I just didn't come out because, and I open the door and I tell them what I seen. And they're like, well, we didn't see anybody come through the building, like through the foyer or anything. And I was like, well, come with me. And I bring them over to where the fire was. And you can see the stain on the ground and you look up on the ceiling and you can see all the soot on the ceiling. So the super's like, well, I got to clean this up before these people come home because they'll freak out if they see this, what's going on here. And I'm thinking the people that were doing that ceremony live in that fucking building. Okay. These are all doctors, lawyers, businessmen. They all have big bucks. They're all
Power.
into this shit, right?
Power.
Yeah, power. And the reason why you didn't see them come in the lobby is because they took the elevator up to their apartments. You know what I mean? They didn't have to come in through the. So I go and I'm delivering the mail, and I get to one of the houses on the route was it had a basement apartment and it had 2 apartments up top, and the mailboxes are up top, right? So no, the mailboxes were down in the bottom. But I would always bring the mail up the steps because there was a little old Polish woman who lived on the first floor. And I didn't want her coming up and down these steps to get the mail because she was like 80 years old, And I said, I'll just run the mail up, throw it in a rubber band, leave it in front of her door so she doesn't have to go up and down these steps, And she loved me. And she used to always have like lemonade or iced tea for me, or coffee in the wintertime, a piece of cake, And one day we started talking, and I'm telling her about, the Berkowitz building, and I said, yeah, I found out that number 42 was really number 35, and she says, oh, these goddamn devil worshippers, they were in the park, and she goes, I had a nice young couple who used to live in the first floor, and she said the husband got mixed up with these devil worshippers in the park. And when the wife got pregnant, he brought them into the house and they did some kind of ceremony after she came back from the hospital with the baby. They did some kind of ceremony. And I think they were going to sacrifice the baby to the devil because she started fighting with the husband and fighting with all these people that the old lady the old lady owned the building. She called the cops. And the cops came and locked everybody up and told the woman to get the hell out of there with her kid, go back to her parents' house, And she said after they evicted all of those people, the devil worshippers, she said she would be sitting in her apartment and she would hear the sink running downstairs. Nobody in the apartment. She would go downstairs to shut the water off. And she said the apartment felt so heavy. There was something so dark there. She would shut the water off, shut the light off, go back upstairs, look out her front window, and she could see their window light coming out, like someone put the light on in the apartment. She'd have to go back downstairs, shut the light off. She said she tried to rent it to a lot of Polish. There was a lot of Polish families in that area, and it's as soon as these people would walk in, they would feel the energy of the place and just say, no, we don't want this apartment, And it was a beautiful apartment because she brought me in to see it.
Right.
But at one point, a Polish priest had come over to their parish from Poland, and she had him come in and cleanse the apartment. And whatever he did got rid of the dark energy because after the priest left, the lights never went on anymore. The water never ran anymore. Any of that stuff, all that stuff happened. And when she showed the apartment to me, it was a bright energy in the apartment. You know, there wasn't anything dark there. I could feel that there was nothing dark there. You know, and yeah, and it's just you know my son Sam's story. You know, and it was funny because I was a teenager back then, and we were hanging out, you know, at the
Yeah.
Lover Lanes and stuff.
Right.
And my brother lived in Connecticut at the time. My brother used to say, "You better stop hanging out at those goddamn Lover Lanes, or the Son of Sam is going to get you." And I was like, "Ah, Son of Sam, get the hell out of here! He's
We
killing
all
people
said
in New
that.
York City."
Yeah.
I said, "What do you think? He lives in Yonkers?" And it
Yeah.
turned out he lived a couple of blocks away.
And that's something. Now I'm wondering
crazy.
about time frames now. Do you think that those people came after him, or do you think there was something going on in that building that he succumbed to? If you know what I mean.
I
Because
think
the weak wood, the weak wood.
This is my theory. The priest who was running all of the stuff in the park, right? He was a pawn for the people in the building. Okay? He
Yeah.
was the face of the group. I forgot his name. He had there's a whole big thing about this priest. He was the one and what you would call it, Sam, not Sam, but there was a group. There was two kids who lived below Sam, whose father was that guy, who was the head priest, and they were priests as well, like working their way up. And I think they sucked David Berkowitz into their occult because he wanted to be part of something. You know, he was
Right.
a loner. He didn't have
Right.
anybody to hang out with.
Low
They
hanging
sucked
fruit.
him in. And I think the real puppet masters were the people in that building. I think they were the ones who got the family who lived below Sam involved in this stuff in the beginning, and got that guy's kids involved, and got the cult involved, started the cult in the woods. Because my brother at one point was a computer operator, and he worked at the hospital right next door. And he used to work nights, and his office was up on the top floor. And he said he could look down into the park and see giant bonfires, nights that they were sacrificing. And they always sacrificed German Shepherds. That's all they ever sacrificed was German Shepherds. Yeah, and my brother said he could see the bonfires in the park. So I think whoever was in charge in that building used Berkowitz as a pawn to kill these people. And I don't think Berkowitz killed all these people by himself either.
I don't either.
I think the two kids that father was running the cult were killers as well, because there were three different sketches of killers. Because there were two girls lived, and there were three different sketches. And another woman seen somebody walking. She was out walking her dog, and she seen one of the, and she gave a sketch. So there was three different sketches, and only one of them looked like Berkowitz, but the other two looked like the leader of the cult sons.
There you
And
go.
And that's just my personal opinion. I think the puppet masters were in that building, and they were the ones. I think they were using them to get the power from them. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And it's a perfect story it's multi-level to the point of, I was almost wondering if you were seeing like a replay, almost like a thing in time, but it was for real.
Like a residual,
they were there.
residual kind of haunting kind of thing. Yeah.
I wondered that at first, and then I started thinking, okay, basically, you have to understand that every place has a history. Like we were saying earlier, it could be land, it could be whatever. So stuff that goes on there is going to affect that, that place, that building. And if Berkowitz is in there, like you said, Al, and he's trying to belong to something, everybody loner like that, they're so low-hanging fruit. And I don't mean that they're less than. I mean that it's just like any gang out looking for a kid whose family's pushed him outside and he wants to belong to something. That's how they get you. And the cats got me because as a visual, I'm thinking Fallen. Have you ever seen the movie Fallen with Denzel
Oh,
Washington?
absolutely.
Okay.
Love that movie. Yeah.
The whole time, even the song "Time Is on My Side," when you said
Yes.
when he stood up, John Zaffis, it recognized John Zaffis. Donnie was asking, "Do they remember?" You bet, because most of the demonologists I know, and there's a difference between demonologist and exorcist, but both will tell you that they'll go 10 years later and there's the same one that recognizes him, knows everything, and it's a battle. And it is a battle that continues on.
Yeah, it's a battle.
Because
yeah.
they have time is on their side. They can wait.
Yeah.
And I think, Al, it's just, again, it's a theory, and we've been tossing theories and spitballing, but I think they have time, and it has to do with bloodlines. You see what I mean? They can actually follow bloodlines. What do you think, Donnie? Thank you,
Well,
Patriot Dog Dad. I love you so much.
Thank you, Patriot Dog Dad.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask one quick question about that story.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you cracked the door open and you saw those people in the garage, and then you close the door, and then you sit down in the bathroom for like an hour, you said?
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious, what was going through your head during that hour?
I was just saying the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not opening this door again. If somebody knocks on that door, I'm not taking another. I think I caught them in the beginning of the process. And so I think Joe caught them at the end when they were actually, The Conjuring was coming up. And I caught them in the beginning before they actually got that far,
Right.
I mean,
and God bless him, because he had no intent to do that. And again, the whole reason I do shows like this, and you do the things you do, Al, and Donnie, you're just learning about all this and bringing so much to the conversation with, since the beginning when you're jumping in the chat and everything, and everybody in the chat too. If there's one message I want to give out tonight, it's that, again, it's all connected. And if we're talking tonight, so people like Joe maybe could have come to people and understood at the time. If he had something like this, or something he could come to, or people that, are in here like our gatekeepers to talk to about it, we could have told him, look, you can do this, this, and this and get that off. But people get scared and they don't know and they shut down. And my heart just goes out to him, but he's not the only one. It happens every day. Where the hell is his damn cat? It's like falling.
Yeah.
It's like falling. It can jump in and, to these things and go everywhere. And it is frightening until you realize that you have it right here. You have everything you need right here in your belief and your light to just, you know what I mean? And like Al said earlier, sometimes you have to use special amulets or herbs or Florida water, like we were talking in the chat. They're mentioning a lot of different things in the thing, but it's not just what you use, it's your intent and what you believe, and your being adamant about it and not showing any kind of it wasn't that door that was the barrier between you and what was on the other side of it. It was your faith and your intent.
Oh, it was my faith.
Your belief,
without a doubt. Yeah.
And your belief that kept that.
Here's the ironic part of the whole story. Before I retired, I became the truck driver who had that route. So every day I had to back down that street to deliver packages and see that tree. The tree's still there. That patch of grass is still there. You know what I mean? Every time I backed down that tree, I made the sign of the cross of the poor Joe, and delivered the packages and got out of Dodge.
And I think about that stuff all the time with people that are just caught up and they don't know, and they just spiral like my dad, and all he needed was a little understanding and somebody to talk to. And that's why we do these shows. We reach out and try to give you guys tools. You have the tools. You have, the people to reach out to. Somebody had laughed and said, Al says, I got a guy. That's what we do. I might not understand it, but I got a guy. I got a lady. I got people who understand. Al is part of that paranormal chain of help and understanding. And, we don't know everything. We certainly don't. We've only been in it 50 years. I know less now than I knew when I started.
And let me put
that's
this
okay.
disclaimer out there. Let me put this disclaimer out there. I don't play with anything dark or evil. That's above my pay grade.
Right.
When someone comes to me with something like that,
I got a guy.
I got a guy. Yeah.
You better believe it, baby.
I got like 2 or 3 guys.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
And I'm dialing down my
with that.
contacts going, bingo, bingo, bingo. What state are you in? Okay, we got the... Because not only that, Al, but like we were talking before, these are people that over time we know that are going to go through the right stuff. They're going to figure out what's going on. They're going to go through the right... the right steps, finding out if there's mental illness, if there's abuse, if there's whatever, all the things we stated before.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing. Go ahead, sweetie.
Well, that's another reason why shows like this and communities like this are important, because people like us, we all need a guy, right? Like we all
absolutely.
need to be able to call someone if something happens, or if I have a couple of friends who've been going through like paranormal experiences of their own, and now they'll like text me for advice, and I'm just like, watch out, see what happens. If you need to get outside help, contact a medium that you trust. And just like, it's always good to know that now we all have a guy. And the guy is each other.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And sometimes it takes a village, That guy that we might call Al and say, hey, what's going on here? We work through it. We certainly don't know everything, but, there's very few things that I can say I know. And the one thing I say I know is that you have your power right here. I've seen it. I've seen it rebuke. I've seen it. I've been held up. Strangest thing that ever happened to me, and I'll say this real quick because I've kept you longer than I promised, but I want you to hear this story.
That's okay.
I'm dealing with somebody, a close loved one, bad addiction, horrible addiction. Gone through everything that you do as a strong person trying to help this person, rehab. And, we take them down to the church. Your mom wanted to get them dipped. We'll get them dipped, About the third time, I just asked the Pentecostal pastor, I said, this time when you dip them, can you hold them down a little longer? Because the last 2 days, But it starts to get to that point. I say that in jest, but over years it becomes to this. You stop jumping in the ocean to save the person who won't try to swim themselves and is trying to take you down with them. You get out and you look back and you go, kick some bitch. That's what you do. You have to. They have to go through their own thing. But at this point, I was trying to tell him there is a scripture, and I was trying to read the scripture to him to let him know that he had the power to rebuke these things himself. Trying to, because he says when I'm alone, it's the worst. Well, when you're alone, you still have you. And I was trying to explain it. Well, I'm trying to read this scripture that tells him that, you have the power to do this. And it wouldn't let me speak it. I start getting inside, my throat is getting, not from the outside in, inside out. I can't speak. It's making me, I'm like, can't talk. Trying to get the words out. I can't do it. And I, silently in my head said, I need help. Somebody help me, please. The phone rings on the wall, the old landline. I pick it up, and the first word I hear is, Pastor Lefevre says to me, make him say Jesus is Lord, do it now. Do it now. And I still can't talk. And I can't say it, so I'm holding the phone out, and the man knew to just start screaming it. I never gave this pastor my number. I wasn't a member of his church. I went there a few times. He knew. It knew. It was a battle right there, and I was caught in the middle of it. And he finally was able to say it, and I hear pastor say it like you mean it. It knows you're lying. And finally, he just breaks down in tears, lands on his knees, and just starts screaming it, and everything broke. And I just picked up the phone when I could speak again, and I said, Pastor Lefevre, thank you. I'll call you back. Click, and dealt with what I was dealing with. But in that amount of time, it was trying to stop me from giving that information.
Oh,
It was-
absolutely, yeah.
It was trying to not let them know the secret. I'm telling you the secret. You have it right here. There it
Yeah.
is.
So it was your intent when you say those when you say prayers for protection before you go into an investigation, before you go do you're going in the woods, you have to believe and mean what you're saying. It's your intent that makes those prayers strong enough to protect you. You know what I mean? You have to
do.
believe it, and I've had a couple of experiences, not with dark demons and stuff like that, where sometimes I can't talk for some reason, and then I just say mental telepathy in my head, whatever. If I can't get it out of my mouth, I'll say it in my head, and they hear it loud and clear. You know
bet
what
they
I
do,
mean?
sweetie.
Yeah, it's
You
like
bet
a
they do.
tolling of the iron bell. They hear it loud and clear. Yeah. So
And that's
I always
important
tell
to
people,
remember.
if
Yeah.
you can't get the words out, or you're what do you call that, a sleep paralysis or something like that, and you don't know what you're dealing with, whether it be alien, shadow figure, demon, whatever, say it in your head. Say it in your head, mental telepathy wise. Say it in your head and get it out there, out of your head. Let it just ring out of the crown of your head, and whatever you're dealing with, that
It'll
will
break.
hear it.
It'll
Yeah,
break
it'll break.
it. It'll break, and
Yeah.
I've seen it more than once, and it's an amazing thing. I even put it in the book. That's what little Jacob was doing. He just said a little nursery rhyme, not a nursery rhyme, but a little prayer before he went. So now I lay me down to sleep, kind of thing. But it was enough to break the evil enough to have something else come in and take it out. But it was just, I've seen it so many times. I've experienced it myself, and my heart again goes out to Joe, because there's another casualty to not understanding what we're battling every day. And I think some
Yeah.
of the things we're battling every day we should just leave alone, and start living with the earth and in the balance of nature, and look back into that. We're going to have you back again, Al. We'll talk a little bit more about Bigfoot sightings
Absolutely.
and things like
Whenever
that.
you want, whenever you want.
And just to have, think about Native Americans even put out offerings and stuff, at the barriers around their thing, because they lived with nature. And I think that's the problem we're having. We're not the top of the food chain, certainly not.
No,
And
absolutely not. No.
we need to shed a little of that arrogance, I think, and put a little more love out there. What do you guys think? A little more
Amen, sister.
understanding. A little more understanding. Al, please tell everybody where we can find you, where we can connect to you. You're not doing the podcasting anymore, are you? Or are you guys starting up again?
We try to do a BPS, Bronxville Paranormal Society, monthly show, podcast. We try to do it. Unfortunately, Brian or Amir, one or both of us are always suspended from Facebook, so
gosh.
we haven't been
Oh,
able,
boy.
we haven't been able to get it out there on a monthly basis. But
Right.
with that, it is on something that we plan on doing once a month. Originally we'd have meetings, and people would come to the meetings, and we'd review evidence and stuff like that. So we decided, since we are no longer can meet in New York State, because we're in a communist state, we're not allowed to meet anywhere. We're going to just do the podcast over. But what we're going to do, instead of just boring people with evidence review and stuff like that, we're going to actually have open lines, and people could call in and
that's
ask
good.
us questions, or if they have any questions about what we're talking about, or if they have a question they can't seem to find somebody to answer, they can just call us. So we did it last month, and we had Chris Evers from England. He's a UFO guy. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, I've heard him.
He called us. He's
Nice.
the editor for Outer Limits magazine. He called in. We talked to him. We had a gentleman out of British Columbia, out of Ontario, Canada, call us. We talked to him, and we had a friend of ours who was actually on vacation in Florida call us, and it was great because Chris talked to us about UFOs. The guy from Canada was about Bigfoots, and then we ended up with ghosts with our friend from Florida. So it turned out it was a good show in the end. It all came together. But
That's wonderful.
yeah, that's what we're going to try to do from now on. Once a month. Long as we're neither one of us are suspended or in jail or whatever.
Good luck getting you both out.
to do that show? Because couldn't you just do it all through YouTube?
I think the way Brian puts it together with the StreamYard and everything, it's got a combination of both. I don't know. Brian's the tech guy. I'm not tech. Tech
I'll
does
talk
not
to him. We
like
can
me.
get it up.
Believe me. So,
He's the
yeah,
one
no,
who
I
came here
mean,
and fixed my sound and stuff for me. So I know he knows
yes,
about that. We need to get that out there because that's the most important thing. Is like we've spent a lifetime gathering information that we almost kind of understand a little bit. We're not real sure what we have, but the stuff that we have and the things that we think we need to tell people so they can, the next generation can take over and go off of what we already know rather than starting at the beginning and just trying
absolutely.
to.
Amen.
It's so,
Yes.
don't start the
Amen.
way we had to. We started backward. We
No.
started with books and digging and trying to talk to the older people sitting on the porch snapping beans. Tell me a story. Have you ever seen a ghost? What's happening? I've seen this. And it was so hard. We can't go back to that. We need to take the information we have now and build off of that and create a
Yes.
greater understanding amongst everybody. Because it doesn't matter who has the best evidence if nobody ever sees it or gets to talk about it or put
Yeah,
their
and I got
thoughts.
a couple of guys. I got 2 or 3 guys that I've taken under my wing, and I'll give them tips along the way so they don't have to go 25, 50 years to learn what
Right.
I've learned. You know what I mean?
That's important.
But there's you have to pick and choose who you're gonna give that information to because it took you a lifetime to find out. And you
Absolutely.
don't want to just give it away to the wrong people. You know?
Right. It's like apprenticing.
So,
It's the same thing. You
yeah.
put a lifetime into it and you want to hand it off to somebody who's going to respect it and do well with it.
Yeah, and
I
take
think
it the distance.
I think that's great, man. And I'll tell you what, it's been a wonderful time in the chat. Thank you, everybody. Hello to people that are just popping in for the first time tonight. You're so welcome here. We're so glad you came in. Phil, how you doing? Vixen, you sweetie. And everybody's just been wonderful. They've loved every bit of this. And we're going to have you back. Bring some pictures
Anytime.
next time. We'll talk about some stories,
Sure.
what we've learned about Bigfoot and UFOs being seen at the same time, and that constant connection that no matter how many times you say it's not there, guess what? It's there.
It's there. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Al. Do you
Good
want to
night.
leave us
Thank
with
you.
anything tonight, Donnie? Are you good? Did you want to say anything?
No, I'm good for now.
All right, guys, then we're going to go ahead and go out of here. Everybody, see you tomorrow night for Monday Madness. Al, thank you again so much. We've dropped all your
No
links
problem.
in the chat. I love you so
awesome.
much. And, to
Right
live
back
so
at you.
close to us, we need to get together. I want to get you down there to Hoover House. I heard you talking about that. We're trying to set up. Donnie definitely wants to go, but I definitely want to
I'm
spend
right
the
outside
weekend.
Baltimore. I'm not that far either.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, yeah,
I got to get you in that
base.
basement.
I did the Hoover House last summer. We did
Yeah,
we did
I heard.
what you would call it last summer, Gettysburg, and we stopped at the Hoover House
Yep.
on the way home for a night, and we did a table tipping.
It's just beautiful,
Beyond.
man. It's a beautiful
Beyond.
place, babe. It's a beautiful place, and I think with all the people with that intent and the love that's there, I'm looking into this whole new thing, and we have a lot of spirits coming back to help others cross. There's something going on. It's a beautiful thing, and I'd love
And the
to be there
people,
with you.
everybody involved in that place is awesome, dynamite
That's
people.
why.
Absolutely.
That's why the
Yeah.
spirit. I think the spirits picked them. It wasn't an accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's something going on
there.
there.
No coincidences,
I
that's
know.
for sure.
It's a great
Absolutely.
thing, man. It's a good thing to see. Love you. Everybody be well. Keep your closet door shut. Keep your feet under the covers because there's definitely shit that goes bumping tonight. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Nice meeting you, Donnie.